Welcome back to the Newbie Railroad. A couple of comments first I'll start off with. I'm going to be reviewing some more stuff, and you may have noticed that I had a pretty good rant on my last episode. Ranking and rating and reviewing things has got a lot of subjective concepts to it, so there's a lot of opinion involved, and of course this is all just my opinion, and I'm a brand new newbie, so you may or may not agree with anything that I say. And if you have some other information, for example, when I'm reviewing a locomotive, I know really very little about what's prototypical, so I've had people in the past, if you see something on a loco that I'm reviewing, then you want to add some information, or you want to correct me, or if you want to just point out something, then the comment section, down below is a great place to do that. I'm really happy to learn stuff, and like I said, I know pretty much nothing about prototypical locomotives. So something that looks fine to me when I'm reviewing it could be completely wrong. Something could be completely unrealistic, and yet I think it looks pretty good. So that's the way it is. Or something could be completely realistic, and I think it's ugly, but it's realistic, and I just didn't know that. Today I'm going to do a couple of things. One thing I want to try to do, I've never seen anybody do this before. I've now gotten a locomotive from my 5th manufacturer. So I've got 5 of the major manufacturers of locos products here in the U.S. There's still a couple, 1 or 2 or more, that I don't have yet, maybe someday. But for now, we'll start with these 5. And what I want to do is look at because I made a big comment about Rapido's operating manual in the last episode. And so I want to take a look at the operating manuals that came with the 5 different companies' locos that I have. And then, in so doing, the new one that I have is a Walthers Proto. And so I'm going to review that for this episode, and that'll probably wrap things up for this episode. Walthers has multiple lines. Some of the manufacturers, and somebody might know more about this than me and could comment, but some of the manufacturers actually name their lines. Walthers is one that does that, and Athearn is another one. Athearn has like Genesis, and there's, I don't remember, Athearn Railway Line, or just, and then Athearn, and Walthers Proto has their Proto. So Athearn Genesis and Walthers Proto are their top of the line, most realistic models. And I think it's a good thing for manufacturers to do that, because it would set an expectation for the buyer. And of course there is there's a market for people that are willing to spend top dollar for really super fantastic realistic locos. But there's also a need in the hobby for, and people have acknowledged this, for the less expensive stuff. Something that looks fine, but has, maybe has less separately fitted parts. Maybe the finish looks a little more plasticky and not as realistic, but yet, it looks fine and operates fine and could be had for a less expensive price. And so some of the lines have a name like a railway line or something like that. I'm not so sure if Broadway Limited does something like that. I don't know if they do. Bachmann kind of does. They've got some different lines. I know they do. But anyway, let's just get right into today's episode. Okay, I'm going to start off with what I consider, I'm going to compare and contrast various operating manuals for locomotives. And I'm going to start off with the one I consider to be the gold standard of the ones I have so far, that I've seen so far, and that's from Athearn Genesis. I guess I should also mention right now, you may have noticed that when it comes to videography, I'm a complete total noob amateur, and I have a really cheap camera with a cheap microphone, and I don't know anything about editing film, really, and I'm trying to learn a little bit. I may ask Santa Claus for a new camera for Christmas, maybe a better one that would have more resolution. And if I ever did get to the point where I had enough subscribers, I think I need 1,000, and I've only got like 180 or something, so I probably never get to that point. But if I ever did get to the point where I had enough subscribers, and that YouTube was starting to pay me money, I might actually become more serious about this. But as I'll point out, I have received nothing from any of the manufacturers or retailers. I pay for everything myself. You know, YouTube isn't paying me anything, so you can take my reviews with, you know, obviously it's the opinions of a newbie, but you know, they're my opinions and they're not based on somebody paying me. So what's so great about the Genesis one? Okay, here's the operating manual. It is glossy, nicely put together. They have Tsunami 2 sound. It comes with, let's start with this, it comes with a parts diagram, which I really like to have. It helps me figure out where stuff is, and I need to. It has handling and maintenance instructions, which you would expect. Talks about how to disassemble it, which is all, you know, pretty standard. Talks about lubrication, which is, again, pretty standard. Should be a requirement for every document. How to get replacement parts. Then it has a section for DC and sound, which I haven't looked at really because I don't have DC. DCC and sound, the one thing I like about the Tsunami, it does have like 28 different functions, function keys available, which is kind of cool to have that much, even though maybe a couple of them aren't used. They've got some stuff on operating, and then they have the basic volume controls, and then they have, of course, alternative horns and bells and all that kind of good stuff, and they give you the CV values for all of that. And they go through, again, some information on operating some lights, more information on various advanced features, and then they've got a really comprehensive list here of CV values. And as far as I know, and then some basic troubleshooting and a warranty. So those are the kinds of things that a locomotive manual, especially one that costs in the hundreds of US dollars, should have. And as I pointed out last time, not to pick on Rapido, but here's the Rapido one that I went over last time. And again, it's printed on good stock. It has most of the basic sections that you'd expect. It doesn't have a parts diagram, and the parts diagram for this Loco that I have is not available. Their sound only has 20 values, which is okay still. That's fine. You know, you can do a lot with 20 different CV values for sound. Their sound is pretty good. Sounds good. But there was enough errors in here that I caught immediately that make me leery. So in other words, if I'm starting to type in CV values for things, I'm not sure if I can trust what's in this manual, because, you know, I found some. You find 3 or 4 errors in the first 10 minutes that kind of leads to not trusting anything that's in the manual. And before I guess I'd make sure that there's a way to talk. Yeah, it does talk about factory reset. So if I trust them to tell me how to do a factory reset, if I start changing CV values and I screw something up, then yeah. The next one I'll talk about is Broadway Limited. Like the first two that I mentioned, Broadway Limited has a glossy operator's manual. It is a smaller format than either of the other two. And one of the things I don't like about it then is because of that smaller format, this is their DCC CV page, and the print it's too small for me. I have bad eyes and I'm old, and yeah, that's too small. But in general, it talks a little bit about their sound. There's a lengthy section on DC operation, and then there's the DCC operation section. Gives you basic information on setting the programming. They have 28 different sounds. The sound that they have, which is this, what is it, Paragon 3, Paragon 4, whichever. The digital control part of it is fine. It's just the sound quality itself, I think, leaves something to be desired. And I don't know if it's, you know, the sounds that they've captured that are stored on the chip, or if it's maybe the speaker in the Loco is not that great. I don't know. But anyway, it just kind of didn't sound that great to me. But the programming of it is quite good. And the numbers, Rapido, the numbers seem to be correct.
They have their function key mapping to CVs here. They've got randomly activated sounds, which is kind of cool. Your loco can start just when it's sitting on the track. It can make a sound or move along without you having to do anything. They've got CV programming. They've got the resetting to factory default section, which is a good section that I think everybody should have, because if you screw something up, you want to set it back to the factory default, you can. They've got some information on making a consist, which I've never done and may never do, but I might, someday. So cool. And they've got a quick reference guide in the back, which is nice to have. You might want to, I could take and photocopy that and blow it up a little bit. Then I shouldn't have to do that, but now they didn't have. Didn't see anything here on lubrication, and I didn't see a parts diagram, but I may have misfiled that, because it's been a while since I opened this up. I have another Broadway Limited locomotive that I have bought sort of by accident, as I mentioned last time. And so I'll be reviewing a Broadway Limited loco again, and I'll go into more detail on the manual, because there may be some stuff that they provide that's missing there. Okay, the next one I want to talk about is Bachmann. Bachmann's information is pretty good, but it's on just regular paper stock. They have a very large, detailed parts diagram, which I really like, that part of it. And then their main operating manual is just this. There's a quick start guide that I got with one of their steam locos. The steam loco doesn't have that many sounds. It's got like about 9 or so. They've got a section here on operating with DCC, some features. Yeah, so they don't have a ton of information. So there's throttle features. Their documentation is kind of lacking, and that's kind of what I've found. I have Bachmann Easy Track, and I've got the Bachmann turnouts, and I've bought a lot of Bachmann products. The information they provide is usually correct. I haven't found any glaring errors that I can think of, but it doesn't usually cover everything. So that's the downside to Bachmann. They don't usually cover everything you wish they did. And the last one is the brand new one that I just got, and this Walthers Proto, and it's like Bachmann. Its documentation came on just regular paper stock, only a couple of pages, not too much here. Does have a nice detailed chassis and body parts diagram. Tells you how to it does have on here. It has the break-in procedure, the removal instructions, how to order replacement parts. It's got some information here on their. That's actually an ad for Walthers. What else we've got here? Oh, lubrication and cleaning, which again is something that I think everybody should have in their documentation. Should be standard section on lubrication, and most of them are, but maybe not all. And then they've got they've got lock sound, which I think is the same sound. Who else has lock sound? Athearn, I think. No, Athearn has Tsunami. Actually, it says lock sound, but we'll get into this when I look at the prototype. I think Walthers uses more than one sound chip. I think they use Tsunami and lock sound both. So this has got basically starts on DCC operations. Got some of the basic common functions right there at the top. There's a DC mapping here for 11 different functions. Some basic programming notes, some CV numbers, resetting the decoder. Again, something that everybody should have. Some sound options for different things, but there's not a ton of detail here. So this looks good, and it might be sufficient, but it doesn't compare to the others. So of the 5 that I have so far, Athearn Genesis is the top one. Well, I'll look more in detail at Broadway Limited in the coming weeks. I'm disappointed in the errors in the Rapido one, and then the Walthers Proto and the Bachmann one are less complete. They have their diagrams are larger, which I like, but they have fewer pages, fewer bits of information. So, anyway, that is my review of the top 5 of the 5 operating manuals that I have. And so we'll wrap this. So as promised, this is my very first Walthers Proto Loco. Let's look at the end of the box. It says Walthers Proto EMD F7A locomotive, Great Northern, number 316C, equipped with lock sound, 5 sound, and DCC. HO scale, and that's about, there's not too much else. It's a pretty nice box. On the back, it's got some basic information about Walthers' authenticity, performance, and operation. So let's go ahead and open this up and take the Loco out. Don't see anything there. As I already mentioned, I already went through the paperwork when I was doing a comparison. So basically, there's Walthers Proto lock sound, and then there's the diagram that has some basic information. So you've got basically two pieces of paper for paperwork, and there's the Loco. Get some brighter light here. Let's go ahead and open this up. It's a little reflective, and also it's got let's see here. Oh, is there a plastic? Oh, there's a plastic. Oh, no, these almost always have a plastic sleeve, and so the first thing I do is I try to figure out how to pop it open, and it won't open until the sleeve is slid off. So, yeah, I'm not too swift sometimes. Got your basic. There's a little bit of paper covering it up, and your basic. I'm going to set it right here on the track for a second. See if I can get it actually on the rails. I think that's right. Okay. So what we got here? So we got the Great Northern livery, like I said. It's got good weight to it. I'll go around and do a series of pictures, but it looks like it's well detailed. It's got some separately fitted parts, including the horn. There's some vents on top which have nice detail. I'll take a picture of that for you. The back side looks good. The back door. It's got some grab rails on the sides there. It's got a coupler on the front and the back. The one on the back doesn't stick out very far. It's interesting. Hopefully it'll work fine. We'll find out. Okay, let me take some pictures of your...
The EMD F7 is a model of 1,500 horsepower diesel-electric locomotives, and they were produced between February of 1949 and December of 1953 by EMD, it was General Motors, and GMD, which is General Motors, I believe, in Canada. They had a maximum speed of listed as 65 to 102 miles per hour, so they could move pretty fast. They were originally promoted as freight hauling units, but they were also used in passenger service, such as the Santa Fe Railway's Super Chief and El Capitan. And this is the Santa Fe livery here. We see one, Unit 316. Among the surviving units, a number of them are in either museums or in tourist railroads. The 315 and 316 are actually in the Galveston Railway Museum. The trains they have were originally a Southern Pacific number 100 and number 200, ran on the Texas Limited, and they were used around the Houston area until they ended their operation. The museum owns now 315 and 316, which are painted, as we can see here, in the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe colors. And they have parts salvaged from the Texas Limited units.
Okay, there should be the startup. I've had a little trouble on some of the points. It's derailed, but it could be operator error. And so I'll come back with an update. In fact, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to end it here for this week. Next week, I think I'll do an F7 EMD3 or whatever, a diesel sound off comparison we'll do next week. I'll put them all on the line, and we'll compare sounds from different sound chips and see how they go. And that should be fun. So that's it for this time from the Newbie Railroad. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again. Click that like button or hit that subscribe if you like what you're seeing.